I kind of, and as far as going back to the argument of what should have main evented night one, I really do like. I completely understand having the Usos and KO and Sammy headlining, like, but on the other hand, I do get the argument that Charlotte and Rhea should have main evented because it was at one point that the winner of the Royal Rumble got a Mania main event. You have a 2-night main event. I mean, you have two shows. They technically should close it out. And match wise, Charlotte and Rhea was better. This was a really great match, but this was the story. I think the story carried it more than anything, and it was the payoff we'd all been waiting for. So I get why they closed it, but I also get the fact that Charlotte and Rhea probably should have or could have, if you're going with that argument.
I am in the camp of people who feared the walkout at the end. I feared that I would love to see them main event, but I was afraid that if they did main event, people would start to leave.
Oh, well, fuck them then.
I mean, but that's not what you want people to do.
Well, no. Sean said this Bloodline story earned the main event spots on both nights, with Cody winning the Rumble. It tied in perfectly. Sort of unfortunate with Rhea. The Women's Rumble didn't get it, which again, I get that argument. They did earn it, but if the result of the Royal Rumble is that you get a WrestleMania shot and it's the main event because Sasha and Bianca main evented, because that was, I mean, it was the story and it should have, but also it was the Royal Rumble. Like, they presented it as the winner gets the main event WrestleMania. So if that's going to be the rule moving forward, then they're going to have to do it regardless of what the story is, or they need to get rid of that. The lady story was lacking. Well, yeah, of course it was, because they put all of their eggs in the Bloodline basket and they can't tell. They have a hard time. Well, I mean, Ray and Dominic, I guess, was probably the second most storyline, but that's on the writers for not giving them a story. That's their fault. But if they're gonna make if the caveat of the rule is if you win the Royal Rumble you get to main event WrestleMania, then they need to stick with it, or they need to get rid of that rule. So it's got to be one or the other, because it's not fair to Charlotte and Rhea that they got that taken away from them because WWE can't book their story for shit. And so, but the Bloodline again, but I understand on the other hand, the Bloodline has been the big story for the 2 years, and obviously if they're going with the Bloodline collapse that I think they're going with, then it makes sense to main event. But again, it screws. Like, I see both arguments, but I'm in the camp of, if you're going to tell people you get to main event if you win the Royal Rumble, then you have to stick with it no matter what the storyline is. Daza said they can't or won't invest time in writing compelling stories for women. Nope. Which is why I quit watching and why I quit time in women's matches.
Well, and that's the thing is, it's like they are presented well, but at the same time, like, they were presented well last night, but at the same time, on a weekly basis, they talk to. I mean, the script is that they give these women. No women talk to each other like that. Right. That I've ever. And listen, I have a lot of guy friends in general because that's just the way that my life worked out. But sure. No women I know, no women I've been friends with, no women I've worked with, no women I've had heat with in my life talk to each other the way that they script the women talking to each other in WWE.
Well, and it's just in wrestling in general, because we've talked about that in AEW a lot about how.
Well, I think in their case though is because they don't have a script at all. They have the opposite problem where some of those women don't know how to do that yet, and
which is again why I have made arguments for Maria, but that's a whole other show.
That's
or you can go back to many other shows. I mean, when you go to
it's both companies have issues.
Yeah. So Sean said at least they aren't stuck with the Europe. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm glad that they finally got away from that, because it took them a very long time to get away from it.
Yeah.
But yes. And I mean, and I agree. I mean, I do agree with both things. And I completely understand why KO and Sami and the Usos were deserving of that spot. And I am very happy that they got that moment.